Welcome back to Mech Rewatch, and we're covering episodes 28 and 29 of Gundam Wing today.
Mostly 29.
Mostly 29. 28 was a recap episode, but it was a really weird recap episode.
It recapped things, incorrectly.
But also, it had scenes and dialogue in it that would have made more sense.
That if they had been placed at the points that were being recapped, would have made those points better.
Yeah.
So that's... But it does that very classic, recap thing, especially from this era, of, almost reframing parts of the show in ways that they were not presented at the time.
Yeah.
So that the rest of the plot can go forward on those presumptions instead of what actually happened.
Yeah, it's really weird. We also get a little more... I want to say a little more background into Treize's thought process, but it's a Byzantine and confused thought process.
He's a Byzantine and confused man.
It would seem so. There's also some new footage here.
Oh yeah,
a little bit. The episode starts with Treize being led to house arrest on a horse and carriage.
Yeah, and the guy in the carriage apologizes that it's gonna be a while, and it's this is a universe with cars. If they took a horse and buggy, I don't think he cares how long it takes.
Yeah. I think he knows it's going to take a long time.
I think that's the point.
It's a scenic view that apparently, according to Treize, is the type of view he fought to protect.
Right, yeah. So apparently, the Rockefeller Foundation is big into conservation and has
Well, no, not the Rockefeller Foundation.
He says the Rockefeller Foundation. He says the Rockefeller Foundation.
He said they originally.
Yes.
Yeah, originally, but they don't anymore.
No, but they had originally set up National parks? Or Illuminati parks, I guess, because they're not a nation.
I don't fucking know.
Big into conservation. I suspect maybe it's so the rich guys can go shoot exotic wildlife, but that's...
Yeah, so, before we go any further, the plot and the philosophies of this show... We had originally thought we'd gotten a pretty good handle on, and that we were on the downward slide because we're less than 20 episodes out at this point.
Right. We've got a handle on it. We're going full board towards no.
It's plot and philosophizing is coming in thick and fast, and it's getting more and more confusing.
Yes.
And not in a Byzantine Treize confusing, just straight up baffling.
But that's mostly next episode.
Yes.
So this episode, but so he says that the fact that the Rockefeller Foundation had this conservation attitude is why he set up the specials unit, which I don't know how that connects.
No.
Apparently that conservation really needs an elite mech unit.
Yeah, that doesn't really scan with what we've
No, it doesn't scan with anything. It doesn't scan with the real world. It doesn't scan with the show. On neither level does it work.
What Treize himself has said his motivations are.
Yeah, also that. Yeah, that's... Yeah.
He's never once, up to this point, and he's expressed and expounded upon his motivations multiple times.
Yeah. And never once has it been, well, I want to preserve the natural beauty of the world. It's just not been a thing.
No.
It's because it could have been, right? It could have been I want all the humans to kill each other so that the world will go back to a natural state. That would have been a comprehensible motivation.
That would have made much more sense than any other motivation he's expounded thus far.
Right, but that's not it.
No, because otherwise he'd be all for the Virgos then.
Right, yeah, let the robots wipe everyone out.
Yeah,
and
just nature will prosper.
Yeah.
But no.
He
talks more about his whole beauty and sorrow on the battlefield thing.
Yeah, and life. It says life is too precious to be replaced, so you're a beautiful, pure warrior if you risk your life in combat.
It's
a philosophy.
Yeah.
So really, it's a bunch of philosophies. This is the problem: is that he is an amalgamation of a lot of different things that a lot of different people have believed over the course of human history, and they don't all go together.
Yeah.
Or form a cohesive thing.
It would be one thing if he was a distillation of a bunch of different warrior culture philosophies.
Right. But it's not even just that.
No, it's a bunch of other weird, like, seasonings thrown into this mishmash.
Because the idea of, like, the beautiful, pure warrior, that's a real thing that's been a thing historically.
It's been a thing in Japan. It's been a big deal for Japan for much of its history.
If that was his philosophy by itself, that would be fine. But it's not.
It's been it's been a philosophy in a lot of Western nations, too.
Oh, yeah, loads of places.
Frankly, Nazi Germany believed that.
Yeah, pre-Nazi Germany believed that.
Yeah, pre-Nazi Germany believed that. Napoleon believed that.
Tennesseans believe that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just weird. It's just weird. Again, not that belief isn't weird. It's the fact that he combines it with, like, this conservationist attitude and
a bunch of other weird stuff too.
Yeah.
Like the concept of
like conflict is inherent to human nature, and like because
it's less that his core philosophy of like combat is beautiful or whatever, or conflict is beautiful and tragic at the same time.
Yeah,
that core philosophy is not in and of itself that weird.
Right.
What's weird about it is how he comes by that philosophy.
He comes by it and how he applies it.
Yes.
Because he applies it in weird ways, and he's come to it in weird ways.
Like it's not even ass backwards. Like he came into it sideways, like a corkscrew.
Yeah. It's interesting because it is importantly in direct conflict with a thing we'll engage with next episode of these pacifist policies of the Saint Kingdom. Because Treize just thinks fighting's good, right? That we need to fight, because that's the other thing, is he has this whole like quasi meritocratic survival of the fittest thing going, right?
Yeah. The
strongest must prove themselves in conflict, right? He's kind of a quasi eugenicist, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's this thing where conflict is beautiful because people put their lives on the line in this pure struggle of life and death, and the winner gets, the
winner is the best. Yeah,
is unequivocally proven the best.
Right, but also like that's important because if we stop doing that, like humanity will fall apart or whatever. Yeah, which again is a thing that real people have believed.
Yes,
but Treize is a combination of all these things, and it makes it weird.
It would have been, honestly, if Treize's actual like character and his character philosophies and motivations had been split up more evenly between him, Zex, and Lady Un.
Yes.
If Lady Un had more of her own character and wasn't just, I will do whatever Treize says because I'm loyal.
Right. Speaking of Lady Un, it's like the other thing that we get in this episode is that she's like not dead.
We also do get eyes on a new Gundam.
We do get very brief eyes on a new Gundam. Its eyes light up green.
Yeah, it looks very intimidating.
Yeah, but yet she shows up on Earth, not dead, which is interesting.
With a white rose over where she got shot.
I guess over where she got shot.
That's where she got shot.
Well, she kind of got shot sideways. Hard to tell.
Well, she got shot from the front through the side, through the chest, on the side that rose is on. Almost in the exact spot that rose is on.
Sure.
I only know because I happened to be like looking right at the screen when she got shot in the recap episode.
Sure. She also you brought up there's a bullet hole in her uniform jacket, but that's not the uniform jacket she was wearing at the time.
No.
So
yeah, because there's this quick scene where it shows her uniform jacket and like her cracked glasses on the table.
It's like draped. The uniform jacket is like draped over the back of a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And like her cracked glasses are on the table.
Yeah. And again, there's a bullet hole in the jacket, where she got shot. But she was wearing a spacesuit at the time. She was not wearing.
As we've discussed this, and those shoulder boards would not fit
right. Yeah,
under
the idea that she wore it under the spacesuit it's like those uniforms are big and flowy and bulky, and they have these giant tasseled shoulder pads. There's no way it fit under.
The jacket itself is actually very tight. It's a tight fit jacket.
It's a bulky tight fit jacket.
Yeah, it's a a bulky tight. I was getting to that. It's still bulky though, especially around the shoulders in particular. It's incredibly bulky.
Right. I think if that was under her spacesuit, she would have looked like a balloon. She would have looked like the Michelin Man. Like...
Yeah, it wouldn't have fit under the spacesuit.
Yeah, that too.
It just wouldn't have fit. She'd have had to wear a spacesuit like the one Hiro was wearing.
Yeah. There have been spacesuits in this show that might have fit an Oz uniform under them. Hers was not one of them.
Well, and I think the normal Oz uniform, like the kind of, because it's not as much of a jacket, it's more of this kind of like
right, it's more of a shirt.
Uniform shirt, and the shoulders aren't as pronounced on it.
Right.
That might, and that with the pants,
you might squeeze that under
fit
a
under their Oz spacesuits.
Yeah, sure, I believe that.
It's conceivable,
but anyway, I think she just like cut a bullet hole out of her jacket or shot her jacket in the place. She's the kind of weird person who would take a gun to all her jackets to shoot them in the place that she was shot.
Yeah,
she would do that.
She's certainly the most unbalanced person and would do that.
She is the most unbalanced person in this show, and that's impressive. That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, there's some very...
Because no one in this show is balanced.
No.
Like
no, they are not.
The show is balanced by the fact that everyone is so unbalanced that they all just kind of cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's the recap episode. There's not much else to it.
Yeah, but that's okay, because, man, episode 29. Oh, okay.
And now we get philosophy. And I mean philosophy.
So,
freshman psych student philosophy.
Yeah.
Except that I actually think freshman psych student philosophy has more merit to it than this.
And more coherency to it.
And more because at least it follows logical trains even if they're incorrect.
Yeah.
But God, this is nonsense.
So we start at this scenic view, panning view of a castle that then cuts into a conference room of all these old dudes discussing peace and how the Romerfeller Foundation is a despotic organization and that them being despots will lead to more conflict, which is why they shouldn't submit to them despite their dedication to
the
peace.
Important part of this scene is basically it serves to explain, not well, but it serves to why can't we just have peace by giving up? That's what this scene is about. Is why don't we just achieve peace by surrendering?
Yeah.
Because generally, one does achieve peace. Surrender tends to achieve peace. That's what it does, right? If one of you is totally dedicated to peace, just give up. That's how that works. And we'll get to that.
We will get to that.
But it is very, okay, so we have to be totally dedicated to peace, but we have this concept of, true peace. Right? It's not enough to just have peace. Yeah. You have to have true peace, and true peace involves, all the bad guys being defeated. So you actually can't have peace.
Well, it's weird, because from what I could gather, and I might be completely off base with this, but this is such a Byzantine jumping jack, squat jump of a logic train to begin with, that interpreting it is an exercise in frustration. But the closest I've got is that what they deem true peace is not just peace because there is no war, but a peace from which no war will ever arise again.
Yes, that appears to be their fault, which is nonsense.
If history has shown us anything, that is...
People in this episode will espouse why that's silly.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
We'll get to them.
Yeah, because we're about to get a new... important character.
We sure are. But so more there's more in this scene because they're also I don't know.
Well, Relena is revealed to be presiding over this discussion.
Yeah, Relena is presiding over the discussion and is these are the policies of my father and the Saint Kingdom.
And notably, she's in that uniform that we saw her in when she
which makes her look way older.
Yeah, it ages her up by
it makes her
years.
It makes her look stately.
Yeah,
which is good.
No,
it's a good uniform.
It's a good look for her.
But it is you forget that she's 14.
Yeah,
because when she's in the uniform, she looks like an adult.
I mean, the way they draw the characters, a lot of them look way older.
In general, their ages are confusing, right? Because Ketrick constantly looks like he's 12.
15.
But he's 15. Zex looks like he's in his upper 20s and is apparently like 18.
18, 19 or something like that. Like
he
either that, I don't remember. He's
Treize seems like he's verging on midlife, and no, he's not.
No, Treize is also like 20.
Yeah.
And Lady Un looks like
Lady
30.
Un, yeah, looks like she's 30, and she's
19.
Right. Which maybe explains why all these people are insane. They're children. Like, children believe a lot of weird things.
Yeah, it's a thing.
There's this whole, like, sort of theory of life that, like, you stop aging at the point at which you gain some amount of power, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, if you make your first $1 million, you just stopped aging at that point, right? You're a child forever if you make money early, right? Or if you end up in charge of something early, you just cease to age mentally. And yeah, I think that's what's happened to all these kids, right? They're all perpetually 12 years old, because they were put in charge of like mech units at 12.
Yeah, well, and like Treize is like a multi-million-dollar schemer by
he's been politically scheming. I mean, how long has the specials unit been around? It's not no time.
It's not an inconsequential amount of time. It's like it feels like it had to have been at least 5 years to build it up to what it was.
Which means that the Romefeller Foundation looked at a 14-year-old who said, "I want to build an elite mech squad," and said, "Sure, kid." Like,
you're very convincing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's even weirder too, because then it calls into question why anyone is so surprised that these 15-year-olds are piloting mechs. Like, they're getting started late.
Yeah, it's true. If people like Treize are just totally normal, it's confusing. Anyway, point is, Relena looks older.
Zex gets kind of a pass because he was on a revenge quest, and so he's doing the Batman thing where he's trying to, like, he's training in the combat arts from a young age to be vengeance.
One presumes he was trained by Ra's al Ghul.
Of course, he was trained by Ra's al Ghul in, like, somewhere. And
yeah, that's how he learned.
How he learned how to break fencing rapiers.
That's how he learned to pilot the Talkies.
Yeah, that's how he learned how to pilot the Talkies. No, he learned that from... He secretly was learning from Hawaiian shirt engineer the entire time.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's this... Then she goes outside, and there's a bit of a confrontation with these Oz guys. And this is important, because Oz is aware of what Relena's doing. Mm-hmm. And they're not stopping her. One presumes because she has cast the magic peace wizard spell to stop people from stopping you from doing your political stuff.
And she doesn't even have a beard, which is impressive.
Because, the longer your beard is, the more peaceful you are, as evidenced by
I just realized there is 2 other characters that have beards.
Okay.
The first one is Marquis Wayridge, the guy who helped Relena crash that one party.
He seemed kind of peaceful.
Yeah, he was a big fan of the
Peacecraft. He was a big fan of the Peacecraft. He gets a beard.
Yeah. But you know who... Or no, that guy's name wasn't Wayridge. Marquis Wayridge is the head of the Romefeller Foundation.
Oh.
But he has, like, this weird, like, chin strap, evil goatee beard.
Yeah. I think the goatee makes you evil. You can be warlike with a goatee. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the point... Relena's father has a giant beard. It's majestic.
Relena's actual father,
her actual father,
not Vice Foreign Minister Dorlin, who had a modest beard.
Who had a modest beard, but is also long dead. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, there's this conflict where they're like, "Oh, your meeting was short," and she's like, "Yeah, because we're all like convinced of our ideals, so it was a short meeting." And they're like, "Well, I guess we're not needed here. We'll leave."
We're ruining the view.
They're like threatening her, but not. Like, the threat is like, if y'all had come out against the Romefeller Foundation, we'd have turned our mechs around and gunned down everyone in that building.
Yeah, we would have left the building with you inside.
Right, but they didn't do that.
And they're kind of just
and they don't feel the need to do that.
Yeah, and they're just like, well, I guess we'll leave.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, okay, we haven't received orders to assassinate you. Goodbye. Which, again, given the Romefeller Foundation's previous actions, why wouldn't they just assassinate Relena? Why would they care?
Because they already killed Lady Un, who would have been the one presumably to do that for them.
Well, but they've been totally willing to have their robots just, like, attack people. They tried to kill everyone in space by killing the hub station thing.
It was...
Well,
I don't know.
Their robots are landing trying to take over the world. Why do they have qualms about killing Relena?
I don't know.
Again,
the plot demands
the answer is that she's a peace wizard. Which we'll get to.
Yeah, well, so...
This show has new types, but you have to be peaceful rather than in space.
Yeah, apparently. You have to be in tune with...
the peace.
True peace.
Yeah, they're like... I will say it again. They are like the vegans from Scott Pilgrim.
They are.
Like, it's just how peace works.
So then we cut to some troops investigating Hiro and Ketra's landing site.
Yeah.
And then and they talk to their military commander.
And they're like, we have orders to execute the Gundam pilots if we find them.
He's named, I don't remember his name, is Count something or other. He's not that
it doesn't
important.
matter. But then the guy who kind of looks like Sean Connery, which is interesting.
He also has a beard.
He does have a beard. Well, because he's peaceful.
Yes. As we'll find out.
Yeah, because he's like, executing them would be really easy. Which is correct. They're children. Although it's Hiro Yui, so it might be a little hard.
Yeah, they're children, unarmed, out of their mech.
Right. But I don't... He doesn't quite come out and say, I don't want to. He just kind of like is, we'll capture them instead.
It certainly alluded to that he feels squeamish about killing 2 unarmed kids.
Right. Which is, honestly, this plays back into that theme of the Rockefeller Foundation can't get people to do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Rockefeller Foundation very much would like these people just shot. Right? Mm-hmm. Shoot them on sight, be gone with them, they are a problem, and we just want it eliminated. But they can't convince anyone to just do that. Right?
They couldn't convince the one guy who's like, no, their brains are important for science.
Right. Nor could they convince anyone to blow the Gundams up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, the Rockefeller Foundation just can't get people to follow its orders, which is a theme. Right?
And which is why they dive further and further into the mobile doll rabbit hole.
Right, because the AIs do what they want. Well, they don't, but we'll get to that. They can't even get the robots to do what they want eventually.
Yeah. Well, while the military commander is busy discussing with his troops about the morality of executing Hiro
executing 2 children.
Hiro and Ketra are playing with dogs on a beach.
They sure are.
And Hiro is literally telling Ketra to just sit back and relax for a bit and just take the moment to
chill.
Not.
Which is, we will find out these dogs are like the guard dogs for this military unit.
They're like a pair of the nicest, sweetest greyhounds.
These are hunting dogs who have found their prey and are just like, hello, we'd like to lick you.
Yeah.
Which comes up later as well.
It's like all the memes of different videos of people with the beware of dog sign, and then above it is a dog being
really happy.
Yeah, really happy and come on, pet me.
But I'm not saying this show would be improved by a scene where Hiro and Ketra are torn apart by dogs, but it is weird that these guys' dogs found them and were just nice, and then they hang out with them for a bit.
Then they hang out with the guys for a bit.
So they hang out with the guys, and that part's kind of explained.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, he doesn't come out and say it, but the guy clearly just doesn't want to execute 2 children. Right? He doesn't, he's not necessarily opposed to the concept that will happen. He just doesn't want it to be him who has to do it.
Well, he is kind of opposed, as we'll find out.
Yeah,
but
sort of.
Here he expresses, look, I am not going to execute you.
Right. I'm not really...
I'm going to... I have reported this, and I'm going to hand... tomorrow morning, I'm going to hand you off to these guys who probably are going.
Who are actually from the... Because he's from, a country that's, oppressed by the Rockefeller Foundation, or part of...
Whatever.
Surrendered to the Rockefeller Foundation. Right? And that's part of it, is that he's I don't believe what they believe. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just following orders, and my orders are to... Well, my orders were to kill you, so I've already broken that. But
if I can, I'll just I'm circumventing them by handing them off. Like,
right, I'm gonna hand you off to these Romulan guys, and
to,
if they execute you, then it's not on my conscience. I don't have to watch 2 children die.
Except he decides that it is because, well, notably, they break into his command tent.
They break into his command tent because only the dogs are guarding them, and the dogs are their friends.
Yeah, they break into his command tent and get a bunch of data on what's going on Earth at the moment because they don't know.
They don't know.
And they keep hearing about the Saint Kingdom, and they're like, what the heck is that?
What's a Saint Kingdom? And then they also...
They're looking for their Gundams.
Right, which they kind of find.
They find reference to Hiro's suit.
Yes.
Because notably, around the same time...
I don't even know why Ketra's looking for Sandrock. He thinks it exploded.
I mean, considering what happened to 01 already after it exploded, it's not something... I think it's actually more he's looking to see if anyone spotted Sandrock because he's hoping that the Magwanaut Corps will be nearby.
That's fair.
And, having 40 armed dudes who are elite mobile suit pilots.
It is really weird that they landed on this random beach rather than where the Magwanaut Corps lives.
Well, presumably after their retreat that one time, Ketra doesn't know where they are now.
Okay, but they're probably still in the same vague region of the world.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just land in the Middle East.
Right, which as we know, is opposed to the Rockefeller Foundation, in totality.
And is the seat of Ketra's power, effectively,
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't.
Maybe
it's gone.
Maybe it brings up too many painful memories for Ketra about his dead dad and his presumably dead sister.
Maybe without his dead relatives, the Magwanaut Corps are no longer loyal. I don't know.
Who knows? I don't think that's the case. He seemed pretty loyal to him personally.
But yeah, it's.
But after they do this, well, actually, between them discussing the about downtime with the dogs, and them meeting with the military commander.
Yeah.
Between that, we cut to Sally Poe being intercepted with the 01 in a carrier.
Yes.
So she immediately crash dives it into the sea. And so
01 once again returns to the sea.
01 is
for the third time.
Is once again submerged.
It just to the bottom of the ocean with that neck every time.
Get into the sea.
Yes.
And so then we cut to, after that quick scene, we cut to Noin in Innsmouth.
It's Innsmouth. It's so foggy. It is Lovecraftianly foggy. There's no other way to describe it.
She's wearing the longshoreman jacket.
Sure is.
And everything. But hey, Noin's back, so that's cool.
That's cool.
And she sees Sally Poe in cuffs or tied up or whatever, getting dragged away to a nice comfy room in a nice chalet.
They tell her that she's lucky they put her in a room with a fireplace. One presumes because it's cold here at Innsmouth.
But it's also don't you have an actual prison cell you can put her in?
Probably not. I mean,
I guess not.
Why not?
This town
you're in
doesn't
this
have a jail.
weird mansion thing, it probably doesn't come with a prison.
Well, no, but the town doesn't even have a jail.
That would involve that would result in involving local authorities.
I guess that's fair.
You don't want to do if you're the secret Illuminati organization that has Robomechs.
But they're not that secret.
No, but they're not. The organization isn't secret, but a lot of the things it gets up to are.
That's fair.
Capturing Sally Poe, right?
Well, and notably, while they've captured Sally Poe, they are also in the process of recovering the Gundam, which
Correct.
is where we find out that Gundanium doesn't show up on metal detectors.
Yeah, it won't show up on the metal detector, which is interesting. That implies that Gundanium doesn't have a magnetic field, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's not really relevant. It's just interesting.
Yeah. It's just an interesting facet of this weird fictional metal.
Weird universe. This Gundanium... It's supposed to be Gundanium alloy, right? Technically speaking.
Yeah, Gundanium alloy.
So God knows what they alloyed it with. Or if the alloy is called Gundanium. Unclear.
They alloyed it with osmium.
That makes sense. That explains so much, actually.
That's what I choose to believe.
That's what the Oz organization is named after. The normal mobile suits just made out of pure osmium. You don't need any You don't need Gundanium alloy. That's
really bad armor.
Okay.
I mean,
they appear to have really bad armor,
I mean, that's
so...
fair, but, like, it's just really bad.
It's probably why they explode constantly, too.
But the maintenance would be awful, too.
Made of osmium. I don't know.
For those of you who don't know, osmium is the densest material, naturally occurring material on the planet.
That's why they can't hit anything with their guns, because it's so hard to actually move them.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, Noin executes 80's rescue plan number 8 and crashes through the window with a submachine gun.
Okay, this is the other thing that's interesting about this episode, is it's like 3 or 4 times that it has these, like, still frame, like, switch to color scale shots.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, the one happens here when she breaks through the window, right? Where it, like she crashes through the window and it's like freeze frame, action pose, like put it on a poster. And it will happen again with the evil girl when she, like, smirks evilly. And it happens a 3rd time and I can't remember when.
I think it's when Hiro and Ketra attack that one carrier.
Yeah, it is. When they jump out, I think it's when he jumps out of the plane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this show hasn't done this up to this point. This isn't a thing it's done in action scenes. Like,
no.
They must have got some new animator or something who thought
or
that
some
that was...
new director.
who thought that was cool. Like, I don't know if it's going to keep doing it. I guess we'll find out next episode.
We will find out. But yeah, like, Noin crashes in like an 80's action hero.
Yeah.
Doesn't blaze away with the submachine gun right away, but...
Because an alarm goes off, but there's no Oz soldiers around right now.
No.
And there's a conversation between her and Sally Poe of, like, I want the Gundam. Who are you? Well, I'm not going to tell you who I am, but I worked for a peace kingdom. Well, she doesn't say against the Rockefeller Foundation.
Yeah, she works for a nation that is against the Rockefeller Foundation.
Yeah.
And Sally's like, well, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, Sally's like, sure, that works.
It's good enough. Better than the Rockefeller Foundation.
Well, the other discussion is the Gundam actually where it seems to be? Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then guys burst through the door.
And Sally's like, well, guess my time's up.
Time to go. And Noin sprays them with her submachine gun, hitting none of them.
Yeah.
Like, they just stop in the door and are not moving as bullets fly past them because apparently she has a Leo-mained gun for a submachine gun. Like...
Yeah. And then they jump out of the window and land in the bed of a truck.
Again, I'm not saying that it would be a better show if she had, like, bisected them all with a hail of bullets, but it is very weird that bullets don't hit people.
I imagine those guys, like, if we were to cut back to them, one of the guys does the thing from Pulp Fiction where he looks and sees a bullet hole directly behind him and is like, it's divine intervention, man.
I assume this is more another extension of the peace magic. That you can, like, stun people with your gun without actually killing anybody.
Yeah.
Peace magic.
Peace magic.
There will be much more peace magic as the show goes.
So much peace magic.
Because, again, technically speaking, this rescue is effected without ever killing anyone.
Well, until they get to the stage where they recover the Gundam, at which point they kill a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, well, I said the rescue.
Yeah, that's true. The rescue is done bloodlessly.
The rescue is done totally... Again, despite the fact that they are firing submachine guns at each other, presumably with lethal intent. But nobody dies. Nobody dies.
As we'll find out, Lucrezia Noin does have, like, lethal intentions.
Yeah. She's not trying not to hit them.
Despite her affiliation.
She is apparently a terrible shot.
Well, Relena's, like, peace magic powers extend to her vassals. And,
one presumes.
And just naturally guide the bullets away from harming people.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Yeah, so we get a quick scene of Rockefeller dredging up 01.
Right.
This is where Hiro hacks the military computers, and then they just leave.
They just leave. Not only do they leave, they take a transport aircraft.
They take, like, an old seaplane.
Yeah, it is like a seaplane.
It's like a Cessna.
It's not quite a Cessna.
No.
But it's a seaplane.
It's like something you would see in Porco Rosso.
Yes. Which, I don't know, whatever.
It's cool and all.
It's also immune to seaweeds.
Well, we'll get to
That'll
that.
come up later.
Because notably, we cut to the commander of the carrier group who's like, sir, there's an unidentified radar contact.
Yeah.
And then they call and then we go back to Count What's-His-Name.
Yeah, and here...
And they're like, oh, well, sir, they left. And they're flying right toward Na's base. They left you this note.
And the note is like, we have to leave because we only bring trouble to everyone who, like,
Helps
is around us.
Yeah.
Which is true. But
Just
also...
tell them we escaped so that you don't get shot later.
Right. Which, again, okay. Sure. Whatever. Maybe that's why they didn't land where the Magnaut core is.
Yeah,
because they don't want to get them killed?
I guess.
Maybe.
I mean, presumably Romefeller has the tech to track their orbital trajectory to where they land, so...
They did, yes, send these guys immediately to where they landed, I guess.
Yeah, so... Yeah,
okay, sure.
So, while Hiro and Ketra are on their end run to this carrier group, Noin and Sally Poe have hopped into Pisces and are proving once again that why is the Cancer the newer of the two suits? The Pisces seems to be better at naval combat.
Sure does.
Because they dumpster a bunch of dudes in Cancer suits.
They also, the dudes with the Cancers are dragging 01 up to the surface, and then they shoot it, and it severs all the wires and falls back to the bottom of the sea.
Again.
To the bottom of the sea with you, Gundam 01.
That is Gundam 01's natural habitat.
Yeah, its soul is weighed down by gravity, and it
to
just
such
keeps
a degree
being reattracted to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Then what they need to do, honestly, what they really need to do to just complete the set of progressively deeper and deeper seas. I mean, they've already had the deepest ocean, but if we're just going to do a tour of the deepest bodies of water, Lake Superior, they still haven't dropped it in that. They should drop it in
Loch
that.
Ness.
Or Loch Ness. Correct.
Or they could do a whole, like, journey to the center of the earth thing where it just dives down into a lava tube, goes to the core, which is full of water. Look, I'm saying that this show would be better. Previously, I've said a bunch of scenes that would not necessarily improve the show, but this show would be improved by just doing the Star Wars Phantom Menace scene where they go through the core.
Yeah.
That would be better.
It
would be a better show.
It's weird to say it, but it's true.
Jar Jar Binks would be the best Gundam pilot. Misa gonna fire the Buster Rifle!
Watch out, everybody!
That's more Mario, but okay.
Well, I can't do a good Jar Jar Binks.
Anyway, so yeah, they leave this note for the guy. That's very nice of them.
And then they commit an act of piracy.
Then they underwater Gundam 01 is being prevented from being recovered. Above water, this carrier is being attacked by two people in a plane.
And they have like 4 or 5 Seaways on this
which shoot
carrier.
And hit the plane to no effect.
To no effect. So either this is the most durable prop plane in existence, or they have the worst Seaways system I have ever seen.
They have rubber bullet Seaways.
Yeah.
It's just more peace magic.
Or peace magic.
Anyway, then their plan to take over this carrier is they, like, crash land on the deck and then just, like, do combat rolls out of the doors with machine guns.
Well, Hiro does a combat roll out of the door.
Yeah, Ketra just fires from the door.
Ketra fires from the door like an 80s action hero firing from the hip.
Yes, they both go full Rambo. Like, that's what happens in this
Rock
scene.
and roll, dude!
Yeah, and they proceed to, like, take an entire carrier as two people with machine guns with presumably unlimited ammo. And,
like, notably, Hiro jumps out of this plane while it's still going at speed and it's still a little off the deck. Showing once more that he is superhumanly durable.
Sure is.
And at first I thought...
didn't break his leg this time.
Yeah, and at first I thought Ketra was going to follow him, I'm like, but he doesn't. And I'm like, Ketra knows that he is a mere mortal and that Hiro Yui is some sort of weird super soldier.
And then notably, Ketra, like, gets to the bridge, aims his gun at all the, like, people in control.
Yeah.
And is like, y'all should surrender. And they're like, what? Why should we... Here's, like, one guy with a machine gun. Why should we surrender? Ketra's like, well, I thought if Hiro was here, he would have already shot you.
Well, and then Hiro shows up with a Taurus.
Yeah.
Or no, not a Taurus, a Leo.
Yeah, notably, at some point in here, Hiro gets to a Leo and uses the big bazooka gun.
The big shoulder gun. The one Leo gun that actually hits things.
And notably one-shots all their escorts.
Yeah.
So presumably a lot of people died there.
Yeah.
Ships don't have small crews. So
and notably,
they're letting... Because the end result of this is that the carrier crew surrenders and they sort of set them all off in boats. And they're like, isn't it nice that we let everyone live? And it's like, hundreds are dead aboard those cruisers. Hundreds, if not 1,000.
Because notably, not only do ships have very large crews, those crews are tightly packed. If
Yes.
you get a penetrating hit, even if it does minimal damage to the actual ship, it is likely to kill or wound someone. Very likely.
Someone, sure. But these shots exploded the ships. Every person on that ship died.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
That ship went down with all hands.
Right. Like, again, hundreds of people are dead, but isn't it nice that we let these ones live?
Everyone on the carriers.
Everyone on the carrier. Does their machine gun fire kill anybody?
I want to say Heroes probably does.
I would have to go back and check, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
What is funny is, because Ketra's like, you guys should surrender. And then they're like, why, dude, you're just one kid with a machine gun. There's like 6 of us in here. We all have sidearms and some of us have submachine guns too.
Yeah.
And then that's when Hiro shows up, like kind of peeking in through the window of the bridge saying, yeah, and I have a mobile suit. And if it was me, I would have just shot you all already.
Right. Yeah, Ketra's like, well, I thought it would be nice to give them the chance to live. And then they surrender.
And presumably die of exposure.
Yeah, because we've established this is like the very cold ocean. We don't know where it is, but it's cold.
I'm going to say it's probably like the northern Atlantic.
Probably. Well, no, because where they showed... Because the dots they showed on the map briefly were like California and Australia. So I think they're in the Pacific somewhere.
Okay.
I think they might be in the South Pacific somewhere. Like cold, like near Antarctica.
Yeah.
Because that or they're up near like Alaska or something.
And like,
that would scan with Innsmouth. I mean, that's not where Innsmouth is, but
near
that climate
the Bering
is
Strait.
It kind of looks like Anchorage, right?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
So maybe.
Who knows?
But the point is, it has been established repeatedly that this water is cold.
Yeah.
And they just send them off in these dinghies, and they're probably all dead. I guess they weren't that far from shore. We don't know how far that plane flew, but it probably wasn't that far.
No, it almost certainly wasn't that far.
Because they had just discovered the note. So maybe they'll get to shore. Maybe shore is like right over there.
Yeah, well, also, like, they were able to... And granted, radar can track pretty far.
Yeah.
But they were on radar for both bases simultaneously.
Right.
Which would mean that they're probably pretty close together.
They'll be... Again, every one of those cruisers is dead. But those guys...
The guys from the survivors from the carrier that Hiro didn't kill...
Right. And then there's a little bit of discussion of, like, what do we do now? And Hiro's like, I don't know. I didn't expect to get this far.
Yeah. Hiro's like, I've just been going along with my usual death wish.
Right.
Which is funny, because he does express later on that they're not gonna die easy.
That was back in the conversation with what's his name.
That was back in the conversation with Count What's His Name.
Because he's talking about, like... Because Count What's His Name is, like... If I tried to turn you over, you're gonna, like, try to fight? And they're like, maybe.
Undecided.
Undecided. You don't need to know that.
So then Noin recovers the Wing Gundam.
Yeah.
And thanks Sally for helping her.
Right, and Sally's like, you can have it.
And she goes, my name's Lucrezia Noin, I'm from the... And Sally's like, don't tell me where you're from.
Which, I mean, I guess that's good OPSEC, but...
Sally Poe is the, like, guerrilla commander.
But also, what kingdom she's from is not, like, a big secret.
No.
Everyone's gonna know.
Well, yeah, because of her affiliation with Zex.
Amongst other things.
And the fact that she was Relena's shadow for, like, ever since Zex left the planet.
And the fact that, like... There's, like, one kingdom opposing the Rockefeller Foundation.
Well, no, there's, like, a coalition of kingdoms being led by the same
But
kingdom.
who it is doesn't really matter, is my point, right?
Yeah.
There's one coalition. Like, it's from the guys who are opposed to Rockefeller. It doesn't matter which kingdom it is.
That's not a super long list, as we've been led to believe.
Well, and again, as we've seen from Rockefeller, I don't understand why they would have any qualms about just wiping them all out. Because that seems to be what they're good at.
Well, we'll get to that.
It's silly.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, don't tell me. And Sally Poe also doesn't have the reaction of, wait, Lucrezia Noin, famed Oz soldier? That Lucrezia Noin? Just doesn't.
Yeah, right hand to the lightning count?
Yeah, no, not mentioned.
No. Enter eyebrows galore.
Oh my god, these eyebrows.
They are some eyebrows.
Enter evil Relena, by the way.
Yeah, also,
she looks like this is clearly intentional because her hair is like the same, and she kind of dresses the same.
It's not the same. It's a lighter shade of blonde, where Relena's is more of a like ash brown.
But they look like extremely similar.
Yeah,
except for the evil eyebrows.
And the, like, different evil-looking eyes.
And one, like, slightly different, like, face shape.
Yeah.
But they're, like, she is clearly, like, mirror universe Relena, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. Well, and she drives her own limo.
She sure does. Again, she's the opposite of Relena. Her own limo, which is, like, 3 times the size of Relena's car. They show them next to each other, and it is just like, okay, I guess that's a flex. It's weird.
And
it's also wide. It's not just longer, it's wider.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, so one of you doesn't fit on the road, and I don't know which.
Yeah. We'll find out pretty quickly. Her name is Dorothy Catalonia.
Yeah, which...
I'm just going to keep calling her eyebrows galore.
Yeah, she's just eyebrows. She's... Like, I cannot express how insane these eyebrows are. They don't look like... Because they, like, fork off. They look... like the horns of a stag. They do not look like eyebrows.
No, they're like, clearly she has to wake up in the morning and style her eyebrows like that.
She must. They cannot be natural.
No. They are baffling eyebrows.
They also don't move. I'm not convinced they aren't some sort of horny outgrowth. Like...
It would be far from the weirdest thing we've seen in this universe.
Correct.
And that's concerning. Yeah, during this scene, we get Relena talking to Pagan, her butler.
Yes.
Her butler
Pagan her butler.
Well, that's his name is Pagan.
I know his name is Pagan, but I always think of Pagan Min whenever I hear his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like in their car, and Relena is explaining why this girl is showing up.
Yeah, and Pagan's expressing concern.
Right, Pagan's like... Why are we trusting these Romefeller guys? That seems silly. And Relena's like, no, you have to take everything on good faith, because not trusting people is stupid.
Because that is the true peace way, Pagan.
Yeah. Again, this is how I maintain my peace spells. Like,
yeah,
I have to be pure of peace, so that I can cast 9th level peace spells, or something.
Relena is just a cleric of peace.
Peace clerics are really overpowered in 5th edition, by the way. That's for another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she explains that, like, this is like a cultural exchange program, essentially, between Oz, or not Oz, between the Romefeller Foundation and
the Saint Kingdom.
The Saint Kingdom.
Because Relena, we're going back to school, because for some reason we can't
get away from being an anime.
Yeah. And so Relena's now the director of a school. She's been promoted.
Which I don't think she graduated from the last one.
No!
Why? But now she's in charge of one.
And it's
maybe she's head of student council. That would scam with anime.
It's called a school, but in reality it's a temple to peace, and she's training more or less,
and she's a monk.
Yeah, she's training new peace clerics and paladins.
She's the Dalai Lama for all intents and purposes.
Like a very ineffectual Dalai Lama.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Kinda.
Well, as we'll find out. So, Dorothy and Relena meet face to face, and Dorothy's like, just straight up says,
well, yeah, she proposes this hypothetical about, like, look how lovely your nation is. If someone were to, like, come attack it, what would you do? Right? Like, how does your peace philosophy handle that? Surely, I mean, it would suck to just capitulate, right?
Yeah.
And Relena's response is basically like, I don't think anyone would do that.
Yeah, which is like...
Well, she's like, I don't think anyone would be, like, foolish enough to engage in war. Which, Relena, have you watched the rest of this show? For one. For 2, that's silly. And for 3, the girl's response, which is very reasonable, is, well, I'm one of those foolish people who would, like, happily burn your kingdom to the ground.
She literally says, I love war.
Yeah, I love war.
I half expected her to break into the, like, the Major's speech from Hellsing Ultimate.
Yeah, but yeah, she is just like, well, your philosophy is incorrect, and I am an example of why it's incorrect.
And also, I think that means I'm a disturbance by being here. I should go.
And then Relena's like, no, we're an exchange for all thoughts. Like, you're
the whole purpose of this academy is to have of this exchange program is to have a dialogue.
Which,
blah, blah,
if you're into modern politics, is like a thing that people are very again. Not everyone gets a seat at the table, right? Some ideologies are just, no, stop, go away. Like, not everyone gets to be part of a discussion.
And then we cut to Pagan in the basement contacting Noin.
Contacting Noin. And being like, yeah, so I was afraid she was like some sort of brainwashed Manchurian candidate, and I had a gun the whole time just in case.
And Noin's like, good on you, man. Yeah. I also plan on killing anyone who attempts to stop this nation.
And so it turns out that the secret of the Second Kingdom's peace is just having a bunch of secret commando forces in the background that the ruler doesn't see.
Yeah, because it's even because Noin literally takes 01 to a hidden cave sea base.
Yes, correct. That Relena doesn't know about.
Yeah.
Like literally, the secret of the Second Kingdom is that the ruler gets to stand up there and go, I am a total pacifist, while their secret police is killing people behind them. Like, and they just don't see it. Like, that appears to be how this works.
That would appear to be the case.
Which is, I mean, I guess that's more functional than what was originally espoused by the Second Kingdom. Mm-hmm. It at least kind of works.
Certainly more sustainable.
Yeah, the politician puts on the like happy face while the secret military like does all the dirty work is a functional government.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good government, but it's a functional one.
Yeah. And we've definitely seen like weirder governments in our own history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like
even modern history.
Yeah, as far as this goes, like it's not that weird.
No.
But it is like it's I don't want to say it's hypocritical because Relena is not hypocritical. She's just naive. Unaware.
She's hopelessly naive.
Yes, she's hopelessly naive, and everyone around her is like taking advantage of that fact or preventing people from taking advantage of that fact, like through incredible violence she would not approve of.
Correct.
Right?
Well, yeah, because Noin just launched a commando raid to secure a military asset to improve her ability to...
On behalf of the Peace Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
She worked with a known, like, guerrilla terrorist
to do so.
Yeah.
She is actively attempting to assemble the Gundam pilots to shoot people.
She basically worked with this universe's Che Guevara to
more or less. But yeah, so it's and again, Pagan is the same way. Pagan is like, yeah, all this peace talk is nice. I had a gun behind my back the whole time. Yeah. Right? Like
I was ready to shoot the potential Manchurian
And again, there's something to be said for like the walk softly, carry a big stick thing. But Teddy Roosevelt was never like, walk softly and be unaware of your big stick.
Yeah.
Like, walk softly and have someone go around with a big stick that you don't know exists.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He's a little bit of an extreme on that one.
Mm-hmm. And with that carries us through episode 29. Actually, we had more to talk about and unpack from this episode than I thought. I was worried that this was going to come in way under time, but no, we made it. So, you know, if you would like to give us feedback, negative or positive, we'll take it. Feed the algorithm.
I mean, we won't see that feedback until probably we are done with this show.
Yeah, we are like somewhere
So I guess at this point, if you'd like to influence what our next show is, now is the time to comment that.
I mean, we did kind of already decide.
We kind of already decided that,
but we are open to suggestions.
If you have suggestions, say them.
Yeah.
Because by the time this episode comes out,
because we're like 10 episodes ahead,
in all likelihood, we will have finished the show.
Yes. Until next time, peace.
See ya.